When you keep winning and winning dominantly and comprehensively time and time again, there comes a point where you seem otherworldly.
Speaking of that, who's the best ever?
Your opponent can't look you in the eye. Your mere presence is just too much to overcome. They are your victims, not your opponents, because you got it.
Best ever in MMA?
Ever in MMA.
It's hard to say.
Somewhere along the way, you picked up that invulnerability power-up. God damn, does it feel so good.
John Jones beat Alexander Gustafsson without training.
It's
He
unbelievable.
basically didn't train.
We've seen it a few times in the UFC. Jones GSP and Anderson Silva obvious examples. But once upon a time, fighters such as Chris Weidman, Ronda Rousey, and Matt Hughes had that aura around them too. The sad thing is it takes a 10-fight win streak at the very minimum to achieve this, and just one loss, and it all goes poof like it never existed in the first place. Then you have Conor McGregor. I know you're laughing. This dude hasn't won a fight since Barack Obama. Since Barack Obama was president, at one point, Conor did seem unbeatable, fathomable even.
Is there something about the phenomena of Conor McGregor that is unique? What is it that is happening? What has happened with him? What does he mean? What does he mean into UFC?
He wasn't as well-rounded as GSP or as freakishly dominant as Janzar Habib, but the myths and legends surrounding the notorious Irishman were so powerful that even in losses, some of the mystique persisted. It took 3 fights, 3 bad losses to crush the Conor McGregor aura. And let's start the story off with the first crack. After knocking out the pound-for-pound king, the 10-year unbeaten José Aldo in just 13 seconds, Conor McGregor did not just transcend MMA, but the whole world sport itself.
Well, you just emphatically took out one of the greatest fighters of all time. You go into the UFC record books with the fastest knockout in UFC championship history.
It was some sort of fighting paragon reborn, or some shit, and his left hand was a weapon of mass destruction, capable of knocking out heavyweights.
Again, nobody can take that left-hand shot.
I call it a touch of death. You know, he's got that left hand. It's a touch of death.
After defeating Aldo, Conor set his sights on another Brazilian champion, the lightweight king Rafael dos Anjos.
Fight me, it's a celebration. When you sign to fight me, it's a celebration. You ring back home, you ring your wife. Baby, we done it. We're rich, baby. Break out the red panties.
He was a slower, sloppier version of Aldo, and McGregor was going to dust him inside 1 minute and become champ. This was set in stone.
I believe I would dust Rafael inside 1 minute. He is a slower, sloppier version of Aldo. He's like a bum version of Aldo, so.
Unfortunately, RDA withdrew from the fights, and Nate Diaz, on 10 days' notice, stepped in as a late replacement. It was going to be no different. Diaz was a better boxer and more durable than Artiva. That left-hand shot was just too much for Immortal.
Saturday night I will eat his carcass in front of his little gazelle friends, and they can do absolutely nothing.
But in the main event of UFC 196, Nate enjoyed the left hand just fine. He was blade up but rebounded in the second round, and that 1-2 combo woke up the enemy world even if a little. Conor McGregor could not put Nate Diaz down, and he was the one who got rocked. Nate Diaz defeated the featherweight by submission, and you think that would be the end, but Conor McGregor was still special.
I've been on the end of many defeats in my life, and I've rose back, so I will not shy away from it. I will assess it and come back.
If you were cursed with an ungodly chin from the depths of hell, you could take the left-hand shots. But there was only one Nate Diaz, anyone else, and Conor knocks them out in the first minute. Conor recovered well from the loss in Nate Diaz, and UFC 196 seemed like a stumble, not a downfall.
Surprise, surprise, motherfucker! The king is back!
He did what he said he was going to do, and became double champion at UFC 205, outclassing the champion Eddie Alvarez.
That looks good! That looks good, God bless!
After securing double champ status, he boxed Floyd Mayweather and lost, but that didn't count. He is a composed man. If that was him and me, the ref wants to see our nose hanging off your face before he's even thinking it down. Something like that he doing a little bit earlier. That was boxing smaller gloves, limited rule sets, and it was Floyd and the octagon. Conor McGregor was still the most dangerous striker in the history of the sports, and no one could take that.
Left hand,
It didn't seem as absolute as before, but Conor was certainly capable of knocking out Habib Nurmagomedov. Didn't matter if he was the best wrestler in the division. He didn't have a Diaz-level chin, and all the double champion needed was one shot, and that chicken jaw was going to crumble.
I'm going to truly love putting a bad beating on this little glass jaw rat.
This was a crucial fight for McGregor, and he had to knock Habib out, or score a knockdown or rock him. At least biggest fight in UFC history. Conor wasn't able to do any of that. He won the third round, but it was the Dagestani who knocked him down and hurt him, and in the fourth round Khabib submitted McGregor and retained his championship.
Like they call him two-time world champion, like 2 weight classes, but today he tapped.
This loss was a big blow because the third round was spent on the feet, and despite catching Habib a few times, that left hand field Conor and Habib just walked away shots and slapped him literally. But there was some solace. Even in this loss, Habib was a wrestler. He had exhausted McGregor in the first and second rounds against the pure striker. Conor is unbeatable.
This is a master grappler and wrestler who is in his prime, has been wrestling bears since he was a kid in Russia, and he took on a master striker who, granted, it seemed like was uncomfortable in the pocket because he knew that he was going up against said prime wrestler.
Best striker in history? Still, yeah, maybe, just maybe, his power didn't translate well. 155. If you didn't have an iron chin, if you weren't the best boxer of this generation, if you weren't the best grappler in the UFC, Conor McGregor was simply superior. To be fair, Conor had lost to Habib and Floyd, both undefeated competitors, and one quick victory over Dom Cerrone was all it took to bring McGregor back on track.
Name in history one more time for the Irish people, for me man back home. I look at the big smile coming out with a win.
Dana White was ready to give him a title shot right there and then, but one more win would have sealed it. And out of all those available and eager to fight the megastar, the UFC handpicked Dustin Poirier. Former interim champion and someone Conor had defeated before.
Conor McGregor seems so focused on coming back and doing something special and making us drop our jaws to the floor like he did so many times on his first run to becoming UFC double champion.
UFC 257 was the last stop for Conor McGregor before his return to the title picture, while Dustin had improved a lot since the first meeting. The loss at 145 still lingered.
I said I'd knock him out in the first round, and I knocked him out in the first round. You can call me Mystic Mac because I predict these things.
Dustin Poirier wasn't blessed with the titanium Diaz chin, and he wasn't the monstrous Dagestani grappler. McGregor was still the best striker. No one could touch him.
He's very dangerous. People talk about that left hand as being his main weapon, and it is his main weapon.
Conor was the favorite to win the rematch, and he won the first round, even rocking his opponents, but Dustin shook it off and did not go out. His power was just not the same at 155. Once the fight progressed to the second round, the former champ appeared exhausted. The GAF kicks from Dustin had taken a toll as well. There was no way Conor McGregor was going to lose a striking match. That was simply impossible. Justin accomplished the supposed impossible in the second round. Floyd and Habib had rocked Conor, but Poirier actually knocked him out. The sequence right here, Conor McGregor, winded, hurt, and stumbling against the cage, then getting sat down by a punch and put out with a right hook, was the end of the show. And ironically enough, guy who started this whole spectacle was the one who brought it to a brutal end. But the knockout loss to Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor's aura was no more.
That's it. It's hard. You know, I don't know where I'm at the minute.
Feels it was nothing to salvage at this point because Conor McGregor had got knocked out, and that was the point of no return. Conor and Dustin faced off in a trilogy fight soon after UFC 257. But as Dustin himself said, it just wasn't there anymore. Outboxed by Floyd Mayweather, smashed by Habib, and knocked out by Dustin. Poirier left Conor McGregor. A regular fighter, he was dangerous for sure, but the mystique had unraveled slowly, and at UFC 257, it was all over.
Very dangerous fighter sitting right here for sure, no doubt, but I see a man, the aura's not there anymore.
Conor McGregor is easily the most charismatic personality in MMA history. in addition to dealing with him and his elite skills. His opponents were up against the Irish fan base, the company they worked for, and the world itself. But one victory since 2016 over a battered Donald Cerrone is a tough sale even for a megastar like Conor.
He's got so much talent, so much ability. You can party and be a fucking madman.
Or you could be jacked on your yacht, which is what you want.
Yeah, but when you're 40 and you got no other choice, do it then.
Took several years, 3 brutal losses, and a lot of coping, but this was the end. And despite all the hyperbole and insanity, was a good ride. I hope you enjoyed, but I gotta bounce. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.